us a little bit about who you are, where you came from, how you got to where you are today.
Absolutely. So, like you mentioned, I was born in Egypt. When I was 3 years old, I was diagnosed with leukemia. And that's where it all began. My parents made the decision to leave everything that they had ever known. They didn't know anything outside the country, outside of, their travels, because they realized back in 1990 that the only chance of survival was going to be here in the States. And so they made the decision, and essentially had to figure it out piece by piece. They moved to California, the city of Hope, where I did a year of treatment. And then ultimately after that, I moved to Long Island, where I finished my treatment at North Shore, which is now known as Northwell out here. So between the ages of 3 and 13, I had been undergoing chemo, radiation. When I was 13 years old, I had brain surgery to remove a golf ball sized mass. It was called a venous hemangioma from the right frontal lobe of my brain. But what I like to call out about this narrative and, where it really comes together isn't so much about the biographical parts of the story, but it was essentially about this young boy who, no matter what he was doing, whether it was academically, socially, physically, athletically, it just wasn't clicking. Nothing was working out. I wanted nothing more than to be like everybody else, competing and playing. The phrase of you can't, you won't, you shouldn't, maybe one day, that was what I was used to hearing from everybody outside of my parents. My parents had always believed there would come a time for me. And they implanted this notion that I was dealt the hand that I was given because I was built to play it. And it was that perspective that helped shape me over time. I came out of that brain surgery, and in Break Barriers, my first book, I talk about being in that recovery room and just how painful it is coming out of an 8 hour surgery, especially a brain surgery, because you're taped up from top to bottom, and it hurts to breathe because your body is just so swollen. And I talk about the darkness of that moment. I was in the recovery room with another pediatric patient who was suffering from a seizure at the time, and your brain goes to such a dark place. You start to think it's either going to be him or me. We both can't make it out of this moment.